Put down that camera and strap in. It's time for a new episode of TOGCHAT Live. Get ready for 60 minutes of wall-to-wall photography, including photo news, tips, and your photography questions in real time, with answers from your host, Olympus Visionary Joe Edelman.
Hey gang, it's Wednesday, so it must be time for our weekly photography chat. For those of you that are here in the chat room, thanks for joining me for the live edition of TOGCHAT. If you're watching or listening to replay or podcast, thanks for tuning in, and I hope that I can help you with the hows and whys behind your photography. Let me apologize in advance. My voice is a little hoarse tonight. I'm actually feeling pretty good, but I'm dealing with the remnants of the flu that I managed to catch last week. So I'm, a little bit off with the voice there. And if I say anything stupid tonight, I'm blaming it on the drugs. That's all there is to it, right? So look, as before we get going, I'm always going to ask, please take a moment, tell your photography friends, you have friends, don't you? If you could tell just one friend and get one friend to tune in, this would grow so much bigger. But anyway, tell them that we're streaming live on YouTube right now. Facebook, Twitter, those are always the fastest way to get the word out. You can go ahead and you can click that share button. It's right down there underneath the video. Yeah, down there, right. It says share, okay? Or, of course, you can go ahead and you can share the link, tog.chat/live. And I'm going to go ahead and put that in the chat window there for you so you can click on that. And my favorite part of TOGCHAT, selfishly, we've got photographers here from all over the world. Sven just got here from over there in, why am I forgetting where Sven is from? How about that? Anyway, he's over in Europe, in Copenhagen. I've got Simon here from the UK. I've got Chuck in North Carolina. Mark all the way down the road in Bethlehem, which is right around the corner from me. Rob is in Easton. I've got David in Indiana. I've got Rusty in Austin, Texas. We've got Mark from Canada, Ajax in Texas. It's awesome, really is. So we got people from all over the place here. Hopefully you guys have some questions, some topics that I can help you out with. But please do leave a comment in the chat window. Let me know you're here. Let me know where you're watching from. But get those questions rolling. I got a couple good ones that came in early tonight, and I'm looking forward to talking about them. But we've got plenty of time in the next 60 minutes to deal with these. Also, I am going to ask you all to play along tonight and try something a little bit different. I've never done one of these before. It's a feature that YouTube has had for a little while, and I've kind of been purposely ignoring it, but we're going to give it a shot tonight. So I have a new video for you. I was talking about it last week. I told you it was coming. I'm going to switch my screen over here so that I can show you where this video is so that you can go and get yourself set up right now. So if you go to the front page of my channel, you look right down here under photography tutorials, you will see it's right next to my face here. Unfortunately, you're not seeing my mouse, but you'll see one-of-a-kind DIY portrait backgrounds. It is going to premiere at 7:15 p.m. this evening. That's, of course, Eastern time here where I am in Pennsylvania. You can go ahead and click to set yourself a reminder. It'll let you know a few minutes in advance so that you can go grab your popcorn and, grab a coffee or a beer or a soda, whatever you're drinking, and sit down. And then right before 7:15, the screen will start a countdown. And at 7:15 promptly, the video will begin. YouTube does this all automatically. But here's what's kind of interesting about this process. And this is why I'm asking you to hang around and try it out. During the first showing of the video at 7:15 p.m. Eastern time here, there will be a chat window just like what you are seeing right now for the live stream. So during that first showing of the video, we will be able to have a conversation. Now, the video is only about 10.5 minutes long. I have a feeling that the chat window will stay live, beyond that time. But it's an opportunity for you to ask me questions. If there's something I wasn't clear about in the video, something you don't understand, it's your chance to be able to ask some questions, talk about the video, and it's happening in real time. So I will be there with you so that we can chat. Once the video is over the first time, don't worry, it's still going to be there. If you have to leave, I see somebody already said they got to go to work. No sweat. You're not going to miss it. You'll be able to come back to it. And as long as everybody behaves, we'll see. It does give me the option to leave that chat available. So it doesn't stay active where you can keep adding to it, but it's available if you want to be able to go back and watch the chat. Just like I do with the TOGCHATs, I see no reason not to leave that there, right? So again, something a little bit different, but if you follow me on Instagram, and if you don't follow me on Instagram, I have been teasing this video, I shouldn't say the video, but this technique for a little while. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put my Instagram profile in the chat window here for you so that you have access to it. You should be following me. Every one of my Instagram posts, by the way, are a little tutorial or have multiple images. These 3 images happen to be from my presentation at Photo Plus, but posts like this one, for instance, you'll see the finished pictures, you'll see behind the scenes pictures, you'll also see lighting diagrams and lighting setups. Oftentimes you'll see behind the scenes video clips. So I am teaching teaching small lessons on Instagram as well. So it's definitely something that you should be following for. And since we're talking about Instagram, I'll go ahead and I'll share this last image here that I posted with you. And in fact, I'm going to bring up a bigger version. I always like to kind of, give you an update. Hey, what have I been working on? So I got my hands on 2 hand-painted backgrounds. Let me see if I can get this to activate here. Here it comes. Okay. So I got my hands on 2 hand-painted backgrounds. It should come back any second. There we go. That I wanted to experiment with. These are kind of old school backgrounds. And you guys hear me talk a lot about the idea that I'm not a big fan of things that are old, right? I want to keep moving. I like moving forward, and I like trying new things and different things. But I thought it would be cool, instead of saying, hey, I hate those old school backgrounds, I thought it would be cool to actually take the old school backgrounds and kind of try and modernize them, make them more contemporary. Anthony Clark, I did not paint these backgrounds, and I will do a video about them, but I will tell you now in the meanwhile, they were provided to me when this company reached out to me. It's a company in China. Bear with me one second here. I'm going to switch my screen back, and I will get you the URL so you can look at their backdrops. Their backdrops are absolutely gorgeous. And of course, there's lots of companies that make hand-painted backgrounds, but these backgrounds are actually hand-painted. They're not machine-made. The name of the company is Clot Studio. Bear with me one second here, and I'll get it up on the screen here for you to take a look at. So let's do that. Let me switch my screen back. And what is particularly cool about this background, which is why I picked it, I'll switch that. I'm going to turn this picture off, and I will share the URL of this company with you. So they sent me 2 backgrounds. This is just the first one that I've had a chance to work with. I see a couple people talking about making like your own DIY ones. I have seen, where there are videos on YouTube about doing DIY hand-painted backgrounds. I have not done that myself. I won't lie to you. I'm all about the DIY. I personally don't have the patience or the guts to do my own DIY background. So I'm not discouraging you, but I'll tell you honestly, there's a reason I'm a photographer. I can't draw and I can't paint. Like, I suck at that, period, right? So for me, no, I'm thrilled. And I will tell you guys straight up, these are not inexpensive, okay? But they're really nice. So anyway, you will see that the background that I'm using here, I actually do have the actual background image here, so you can see it. That's the background that is in the picture that I just showed you. That's what it looks like, okay? So again, my goal, and I'm letting you guys in, since you're here, since you take the time to show up on a Wednesday night and support me, I want to kind of let you know where my thought process is going. in part because I am interested to see questions that you guys will ask along the way, and I will be posting more on Instagram before I do the video. But I want to experiment with these kind of old masters backgrounds. The other one that I got from this company is much more traditional and also a little bit darker in its tone and in its mood. Okay, so my goal, like I said, is to work to kind of modernize the look and the feel using these old school type settings. And I'm pretty excited about it. I have some cool ideas, some things that we are going to, experiment with. And I will, of course, fill you in on my results along the way. And we'll take it from there. Okay? So let's just switch gears for a second. Okay? And, well, I thought I was going to switch gears. There we go. We'll do that. No, we won't do that. Shall we try? Okay, this is what you call operator error here. You ready? So I want to just give you a couple quick announcements, and then we'll get into the Q&A. So first of all, I mentioned this very, very briefly last week. I am going to be presenting in a couple of weeks in New York City at an event that is held and sponsored by B&H Photo. It's called Depth of Field. They hold it at the New Yorker Hotel. They haven't added me to the website yet, so hopefully I will go up on the website shortly because I know there's a couple other speakers too. I can't say who until it's on the website, but I know there's some others. Here's the cool part, gang. All of you can attend this. You don't have to be in New York. So if you are able to be in New York on February 11th and 12th, you can click the Register Now button and you can get free, I said free, admission to this event. I'm putting the link for it in the chat window there for you guys. If you can't be there, if you're going to use the excuse of, well, I can't afford a plane ticket or take a day off of work, okay, fine. Click RSVP for the live stream. These presentations are live streamed to the world, okay? So, and believe me, some of these people, like I know a lot of you folks probably do not know who Greg Gorman is, probably do not know who Mick Rock is. If you don't, you should. So pay attention, spend some time, look at their work. Very inspiring, just incredible photographers. Also, coming up, I'm just going to switch my screen over here. This weekend will be in Nashville, Tennessee, provided that I can get out of Philly. We're supposed to get like 3 to 5 inches of snow Saturday morning when I'm supposed to be taking off. So providing that I get out of Philly, and it wouldn't be the first time that I've missed imaging for snow. It happened to me 3 years ago. I missed it. It was in San Antonio, and I could not get out of the airport. But as long as all goes well, I will be there Sunday and Monday. So I saw somebody ask me, let's see here, somebody earlier, oh, Chuck, what days will I be at imaging? Of course, I always see Chuck at imaging. So basically Sunday, Monday, Chuck. Sunday, I'm doing 2 short presentations. One at 1:30 p.m. I will be at the V-Flat World booth doing just a quick 30-minute demo of my kind of dreamy backlighting technique that I love. And then at 2:30, I will be at the Pixel Connection booth. Pixel Connection is a photo retailer out of Ohio that, of course, sells, worldwide. But I will be doing a demo in the Pixel Connection booth with some Savage items, both new and some that have been around for a while, but all with LED lights. Just, kind of being creative, really having fun with it. And then on Monday at 2:30, I'll be back in the Pixel Connection booth and doing another demo with some different Savage product. So, Chuck, hopefully I'll see you there. For the rest of you, hopefully you will make it. Going back, Spinning Wheels Photography. I think you were a little bit maybe late on the uptake there. But yes, the B&H Depth of Field talks are recorded and live streamed, and they post them on YouTube. So you will be able to see them. I suppose your wife's birthday is a good reason not to catch them live. But yes, they do post them on YouTube. You will be able to see them after. Like, for instance, if you follow that link that I put in the chat window, you can scroll down the page. You can click over to all of the 2019 presentations. They're all on YouTube. They're all available to watch. So And then February 12th, of course, is the B&H event. And then February 26th, Las Vegas, WPPI, I will be presenting a masterclass at WPPI. So I hope to see you there. And I'll be spending some time at the trade show. And there's a good possibility I'll wind up doing some booth demos. That hasn't been worked out yet, but there's some things that have been discussed. So it's certainly a possibility. We'll see. Okay. So that's the news that's coming up, everything that's going on. Why don't we go ahead and get into the part why we're all here. Yeah. So questions. We got some good ones that came in the first part of the evening. Do me a favor, though. Don't sit back and be lazy. Remember, learning requires effort. Put in some effort. Type some questions, all right? Last week there were a whole bunch of people saying, I need business help. Well, you got to give me some specifics. You can't just say, how do you get more clients? You can tell me how do you get more clients, but you got to tell me what you're doing now and how you're doing it. And give me a link to your website, okay? If any of you are gutsy enough, I'll gladly review your website and social media, provided that you give me some specifics about what your struggles are. And I'll gladly do it live, so it's going to be, for all the world to see on YouTube. But I would love to get into the business stuff. Last week, I heard a lot of people talking about it. And you know what? I should also mention, so many of you invested a tremendous amount of time and effort. And I am forever grateful in responding to my question last week about kind of my dilemma, shall we say, of what direction do I continue to take the TOGCHAT and the tutorials in and all that. I did not just get answers, I got novels, and you guys are awesome. Overall, the responses were what I expected overall. However, quite a few of you honestly really gave me some things that I had never considered. Quite a few of you gave me some tough love. And believe it or not, as much as nobody likes the tough love, right? It was actually really, really helpful. And the reason why I'm bringing that up, and I'm going to be very honest with you, some of you really pushed back and gave me some really brutal commentary. But number one, you respected me, which is why I love you. And you didn't just say, oh, you suck, or that sucks, or this sucks. You told me why. You gave me context, and you offered a solution. Just like I talk about with the way that we offer criticism, constructive criticism on people's photographs. So the feedback was actually very helpful. And the reason why I want to bring that up is not to be humble. I want to be honest with you guys, because I know some of you, are here that sent me those messages, and I want to acknowledge it. I don't want you to think that I've ignored anyone's. But as photographers, one of the things that you always have to be aware of, and this applies to your photographs, and it applies to your business, the way you market yourself, your pricing structure, your packages, all of it. We always understand what we do from the inside out. It is very hard to anticipate and understand from the outside in. Frequently, when we get that opportunity to get good, well thought out, supportive, and constructive feedback, it can sting, but it is important to really, really pay attention to it. As an example, there were some things that some folks, gave their interpretation of, and I realized, I can completely see why they think that. And the challenge of it is I need to do it a certain way because of this, and this. And it's not about me, writing back to them or saying, well, no, I can't do that because. It's about, good. I now at least understand some people get the wrong response to that or get the wrong vibe from that. So that means that I have an opportunity. I have an opportunity to look for a way to better that piece of my presentation or the way I'm communicating, et cetera. So, but seriously, all of you that sent me feedback, thank you so much. I have not sent out the newsletter with the questionnaire because I got more feedback than I ever imagined. So I'm still going through some of them. I am still going to send out a survey in the newsletter, but you all made me realize that a lot of what I intended to ask in the survey, there's no reason to ask it. But there's a whole bunch of other stuff that I want to dive into so that I can really make sure that I'm putting the right focus and the right efforts into being able to get you guys information that's going to be really helpful. So anyway, that being said, more questions, more topics. If it's business, need somebody to be gutsy, step up, tell me what you want to talk about, okay? So let me head on back here, and Darko had a question early on, which is kind of interesting because I've been there, done that. And that is, can you go through the thought processes you would think about when you would choose a space for a home studio? Versatile ideas for portraits, but also product photography. So, Darko, there's kind of layers to it. So obviously, I think probably the biggest question that you have to answer when you are looking to build a home studio is whatever space it is you're considering. Topic number one, is it big enough? Oftentimes when we're dealing with home studios, you kind of have to flip the question around and say, can I work in a space this small? So in other words, it might be, this is the biggest room I have. It's certainly not as big as I want it to be, but can I make it work? That's a lot of what I went through when I built my first home studio. So if you've been following me for a while, you know that the home studio that you see in my video and the one that I'm in right now, this is actually the second home studio that I have owned, built, etc. The first one was probably 15 years ago now. And that was coming from a 2,000 square foot studio with 14-foot ceilings to a basement studio in a townhome, okay? So a big part of making that work was a lot of problem solving with ceiling height, running distances, all that kind of stuff. So Darko, I think first and foremost, you've got to be looking at, do you have enough space to do the kind of work that you want to do? And if you're tight on space, which you likely will be in a home studio, can you figure out ways to solve that? If you like to be able to do natural light portraiture, well then, access to windows is a consideration. If you're talking about windows, you have to be concerned with what direction do those windows face. Understand that north-facing windows would be the only windows that never have direct sunlight shining through them. Direct sunlight, which causes harsh shadows. Now, maybe you want there to be times during the day where you get direct sunlight coming through your windows for that harsh light, or maybe you don't. So that's a decision that you have to work around. My studio that I have now, which is in the factory building, 30 feet along one wall is north-facing windows. It's the most gorgeous, soft light ever because at no time during the day or the week do I get streams of direct sunlight coming through. The only streams of direct sunlight that come through the windows come from the windows at the end of the studio for about 2 hours early in the morning, from like 8:30 until about 10:30. That's it, okay? So another thing to consider, Darko, if you're going to use AC-powered electronic strobes and any other type of equipment, is the space that you're looking to put the studio in, does it have the proper amount of electricity? Are you going to be able to handle everything you need to plug in? Both of the home studios that I have had, I have custom built. So the first one, basically it was an empty basement and we fitted it out completely. So we ran new circuits and additional outlets. This house was built, like we ordered the house when it was a hole in the ground. There was nothing here. So everything that went into the basement, I gave the builder specifics. The builder, did the rough framing on the walls and put drywall up, but I gave them specifics and ordered additional circuits and outlet placement and that type of thing. So those are kind of some of the first ones. I would tell you that if your studio is big enough for portrait photography, it's going to be big enough for most product photography, unless your products are huge, right? But those are the things that I would kind of really prioritize at the top of the list. Certainly ceiling height is an issue. In this studio that I'm in right now, the ceiling is only about 7 feet, 10 inches. It's not even quite 8 feet, right? Now, I'm able to shoot full length. You've got to be very careful about your camera angles, what focal length lens you work with, etc. But, you can make it work. However, you're limited. Obviously, in this space, I'm not going to do any photographs with dancers jumping in the air. That's just not going to work, right? So that's also, kind of a consideration. So those would be the places that I would start, Darko. So I hope that helps. Okay. All right. Next question here. Let me move that one off and scroll on back here. I see some really good questions coming, guys. Thank you. So Pateo has a question here. While shooting portraits with custom white balance and the model with a gray card, should you really create a camera profile with like the color checker passport? And then he goes on to say, I tend to think that the passport seems only indispensable to my fellow YouTubers who push the product. Good point, Pateo. So full disclosure, I own a color checker, which I paid cash for. Bought it at B&H years ago. Still have it. Doesn't get used that much, but I have it. Is it something that you have to do? No. Is it indispensable? Not like it used to be. Not at all. But let me explain why, right? So first of all, keep in mind, I photograph people. I'm not reproducing artwork or documents or things that must have exact, precise color management. Everything about a portrait and the artistic shots that I do, it's subjective, meaning if I want a little yellow, I can make it a little yellow. If I want a little red, I can make it a little red. If I want it to have a purple tone, I can give it a purple tone. I can do whatever, right? So to go to that extreme for me doesn't hold a lot of value. What I will do is pay attention in my live view, since I tether most of the time in my studio. If I'm noticing, when I'm in the studio, gang, 99% of the time I'm working on auto white balance because the cameras are that good. And that's not just an Olympus thing. That's pretty much all the camera brands at this point. But you do have to understand that in a studio setting, especially if you're using lots of crazy colors, it is very easy to trick the camera's white balance. I don't care what brand we're talking about. So I generally start on auto white balance. My first step, if I see the white balance is really wonky because I'm shooting really weird colors, whatever, I will switch over to color temperature. I don't actually do a custom balance right away. I'll do color temperature. And if my strobe, if my key light, my primary light, if it's 6500K, 5800K, whatever it is, that's what I set my camera to. If that doesn't get me where I want to, I will leave it at that color temperature setting so that it matches the light. But then I will go ahead and I will do a test frame with a gray card. Then when I download that shot into Photoshop, or you can do this in Lightroom, I'll go into the Camera Raw plugin, or in Lightroom, the Develop panel, and I will use the little eyedropper tool, and I will click on the gray card to get the white balance. And even then, I will tell you that what happens is it tends to kind of over purify the shot. So I sometimes still slide it back a little bit to give it a little bit more feel, because this is happening, remember, because it's a situation where I got a lot of color stuff going on in the first place. But are they good to have? Yes. Are they absolutely important? Like, gotta have them, gotta use them? No. Okay. I would say, and they're not cheap. It's worth noting. So I think they're about $100. Please correct me. I don't know for sure because I bought mine a long time ago. But again, just a basic gray card will get the job done. And you can buy really, really inexpensive, like little plastic ones. You can buy the bigger, fancier, like Kodak. Can you see those? Like the Kodak gray cards that are actually cardboard. They're matte board. It's gray card on one side, white on the other. But even these, you got to take care of them. I don't know if you can't see it properly, but there's like, I've got like a stain on the side of that one. I use these primarily for video, and I use the white side when I'm doing my video white balance. Okay, so Pateo, I hope that helps. Let's see here. So going back to our question scroll, heading on down. Let's see. Ken Rain. Supposedly a new Olympus camera is due. What features would you like to see? God, I hate this question. Not for the reasons you think, Ken. I've seen the rumor sites. There are a lot of rumors that there's a camera coming up in the near future. That would be really cool if it is, but I don't know. Sorry. But the part that I hate, and I'm not mad that you posted it, but I mean, it's I don't have a great answer. It's when people say, well, like, what do you want to see in the next camera? Because it forces me to give kind of a cheesy response, but it's an honest response. The 3 cameras that I'm using from Olympus right now, my primary cameras, the EM1X, the EM1 Mark IIs, which you're seeing me on right now, and lately the EM5 Mark III. I love them. Like, truly, they are, for me, they are the perfect cameras for me. So short of, getting to the point where, like, cameras have the ability to make me a better photographer, which I don't think any camera is going to do that. But short of getting to that, I honestly don't know what features that I want. When I did my video about the EM1X last year, which was not a review, but it was like, hey, here it is. This is what I like. This is, what I'm excited about. I talked about the fact that what I was most excited about was not that specific camera, but the fact that if we look historically at technology, features from that camera are going to drip down into other cameras. And already Olympus has proven that and proven me right with the EM5 Mark III, because some of the features from the EM1X made it all the way down to the EM5 Mark III. So I would hope that we see more of that as new cameras are released at whatever level. But, and you guys, I'm not like a gear geek, right? There's nothing in my toolkit where I'm like, I wish this camera would do this. There just isn't. So I really have a hard time imagining where they're going to go next. So we'll see. If the rumor sites, the rumor sites, they rarely get it completely right, but they're usually like in the ballpark. So yeah, hopefully we'll see what's going on, right? All right. So still scrolling on down here, and where are we at? Oh, there's where everybody checked in. And all right, I use curves, contrast, and clarity in Photoshop to make my images pop. But I feel I often lose too much detail in the shadows in the process. How do you do it? So I actually hardly ever use contrast. I almost automatically dial in a +5 on clarity on every image. So keep in mind, for like when I'm shooting my portraits and my beauty shots, so use that as the context here. I do about a -4 on texture, a +5 on clarity. I leave the contrast as is. I never use curves, ever. And you want to know why? I'll be completely honest with you. Because I never took the time to learn to use them properly. How's that for an answer? Okay. My secret sauce in my developing is highlights and shadows. Highlights and shadows. I like to control my contrast with the highlights and shadows, and then every now and then I'll pull the blacks down just a little bit on the black slider, okay? And then I really get the kind of contrast that I like. I find the contrast slider to be a little heavy-handed and a little kind of, what's the word I'm looking for, mandatory for my personal taste, but that doesn't make it bad, okay? All right, so let's see. Timber Geek, I have some questions about how flash or strobe power affects colored gels, as well as how the position of the gel relative to a diffuser in front or behind might also affect this. Okay, so a couple of things. Flash power certainly impacts the color of the gel, kind of the, shall we say, the intensity, but you also have to tie that in with other factors like what is the color that the gel is being aimed at? Is it being aimed at a white wall? Is it being aimed at a black background, a gray background, a subject, another color, right? But let's just say we'll keep it simple and we'll do like the white wall concept, right? So if you've got a gel and a flash and it's white wall, the lower the power, the better the chance you have of keeping the color rich. The brighter the power, you're eventually going to just wash it out and it gets faded, and eventually it could just turn white because you're essentially overexposing it, right? So as far as the position of the gel, in other words, should you put it in front of the diffuser or behind the diffuser, that's really a matter of what you can afford. So, ultimately, if you have a gel that's big enough to cover the front of a softbox, sure, gel the front. That's expensive. So it makes more sense to gel the light source inside the box. Now, of course, if you're working with a studio strobe that's got a bare bulb, be careful that your gel is not touching, right? So there's some considerations there. But whenever possible, I would encourage you to gel the light source, not the modifier, if you can do it that way, okay? All right, scrolling on down here. Let's see here. Bob, I'll be in Chambersburg in 2 weeks. I hope I make it over to see you during the week. Yeah, do yourself a favor and don't just drop in, Bob, because I'm only there when I shoot. It's just a space for me to be able to shoot. So, yeah, you want to kind of plan ahead, or you may be making a trip to see the door to my studio. Yeah, I'm not there every day. I have the good fortune of being able to work at home, okay? Let's see. And scrolling on down. Randy 12 Gerard, would you recommend to control the humidity in a studio? Yeah, absolutely. Especially if it's a home studio or, like in my case, a basement studio. Very, very important. Most basements are concrete or concrete block, which means that they tend to be rather high in humidity. Over time, that's ultimately not good for your cameras. So controlling the humidity or storing your camera gear in a dry cabinet. If you go to Amazon or just Google or go to B&H, the phrase dry cabinet, you'll find that they have cabinets that are humidity control units. So, and that's what I do. So here in the home studio, I do have a dehumidifier that I run. And, this house is going on, I guess, 10 years old, and it still collects quite a bit of water in that dehumidifier over the course of a week. At my studio, I don't have a dehumidifier there because I would need a massive dehumidifier, but I store my gear in a dry cabinet that's locked. And that also gives me the extra security if somebody were to break in. I have security systems in my studio, both outside and inside the studio, but also the gear is locked up at all times. And even my equipment cases are locked up. So, that's kind of the other benefit there. But yeah, the coatings on glass lenses and cameras today are much better than they used to be. But I have had the experience in the past of having lenses start to grow moss inside. And so ultimately the lens starts getting hazy and it starts getting soft. It is harder and harder to do that today than it used to be, but it's still possible, okay? All right, let's see here. Scrolling on down. And let's see. Garby Lyon, appreciate what you do from West Philly. Very cool. Question, do you feel that you're maximizing your tax write-offs with having your studio at home? Any tips? Well, so keep in mind, so in theory right now I have two studios. The studio that I'm standing in right now is at home. When I'm done tonight, I'm going to go upstairs, watch television with my wife, and go to bed, okay? But I'm going to tell you straight up, you do not want to take tax advice from some guy on YouTube, ever, period. Talk to an accountant. So if you are working at home, if you are running a business, you should be writing off parts of your house that you are using. That's within the law, etc. I use an accountant, send the stuff off. She's amazing. She's been my accountant for years. But do not take tax advice from a guy on YouTube. It's kind of like, don't get your legal advice from a guy on YouTube either, right? Okay. So let's see here. Scrolling on down. Nick, fess up. You're like me when you think AWB. Do you think average white balance because of the pop music group Average White Band from the 70s? Nick, I'm going to have to leave you to hang out to dry on that one. I don't have that problem, but I could understand that, that connection. We'll go that route, okay? So let's see here. From Jan, could you recommend a cheap/goodish, okay, LED light to start off and then learn how light affects my subjects? I have a flash and a trigger, a Yangwano 560 IV, but never use it as I find the feedback slower. And then it goes on to say, I guess the cheapest continuous light would only work indoors, or could there be one good enough for outside fill light? So I understand what you're trying to accomplish, and it's actually not a bad idea, right? I cringe when I hear people say cheap and good in the same sentence, because unfortunately the reality is you get what you pay for. So what I would recommend, Jan, is something like the Savage RGB LED light wand. Here, hang on one second. I'll see if I can find it. This is something that even as you build out your lighting system with strobes down the road, you will be able to put this to use as a fill light, as a creative light. You'll be able to do a lot of things with it. So here, just to show you, this is it right here. I just put a link for it in the chat window. Let me go ahead and take the comment out here. It's a light wand. It's battery operated. It'll run on AC power. Has an iPhone app that you can work with it. I use it for lots of things. In fact, this weekend at Imaging in Nashville, I'll be using these to do some creative lighting, all with LEDs, no strobes involved. Okay, so I would consider you kind of something like that. Okay. All right. So, and whoops, I'm hitting the wrong button there to get back. There we go. So let's head on back here. And next question. Scrolling back to where I was. Brad Weeks, will the EM13 have 8K resolution? Brad, I have no idea, man. But can we just be practical here, right? What do you need 8K resolution for? Number one, how many cameras on the market today have 8K resolution? How many small cameras on the market have 8K resolution? So what would be the intelligence behind putting an 8K resolution in a Micro Four Thirds camera? Like, why? You have to understand, with 8K resolution, you're going to have to make your cameras bigger, right? You just are. Why? Because they need more processing power, they need more buffering, you got to run, bigger, faster discs, et cetera, et cetera. But you got to start with, why do you need 8K? I mean, I'm sorry, Brad, but I just got to be honest. This is one of those things that, it's one of those things that, it's a feature that some cameras are starting to show, but what are you going to do with 8K? Who needs it, right? I'm just being honest, okay? So let's see here. Bob Dabalina, what photographers are you still in awe of and why? I hate questions like that only because, on the spot, my head's never going to get everybody that matters to me. I will mention two today that because they just popped up on my Facebook feed today. And because I have had the good fortune of actually breaking bread with one of them, which was an amazing experience. And I had the good fortune of at least standing just a few feet from the other one when I was 16 years old. The two photographers I'm talking about, two of the greatest living photojournalists that exist in the world today. One is Mr. David Hume Kennerly. He is best known as the official White House press photographer for President Gerald R. Ford. He is the first White House press photographer to have essentially unfettered access to the Oval Office and to the president. Won a Pulitzer Prize at age 23 for his coverage of the war in Vietnam, and has photographed more presidents, more sitting presidents, than any other human alive in the world today. He has witnessed more history. They just established the David Hume Kennerly Archives at the University of Arizona in Phoenix. So that is very much on my bucket list, to be able to get to Phoenix to visit the University of Arizona and his archives, to be able to look through all of his images, because he has digitized everything from his career. And if you don't know who he is, another photographer you should pay attention to, even if you don't shoot photojournalism. Both these names, as I mentioned, are two gentlemen whose careers are just incredible. And the irony of it is David Hume Kennerly, for all of his Pulitzer work and his photojournalism and everything he does, he's written a book on iPhone photography, and he's got an incredible Instagram channel that he shoots just with iPhones for fun and creativity, right? The other one, and the reason why I thought of this gentleman, is because I saw a photograph of him with David Hume Kennerly today, taken in the Capitol building in Washington, D.C. The two of them are sitting on a bench with their cameras, waiting for the senior House officials to walk the documents of impeachment to the Senate. And that other photographer is Mr. David Burnett. And David is sitting there on the bench with his 4x5 film camera sitting at his feet. David made a little bit of news a few weeks back during the impeachment hearings when they were showing the press gaggle around the witnesses. And here, of course, are all the digital cameras, and there was David with his wooden 4x5 film camera shooting this event. Just another photographer. I had the good fortune of breaking bread, sitting down and having dinner with David about 2 years ago at an event that I was speaking at in Delaware. Was absolutely amazing. It was all I could do, not to just sit there and fanboy the entire time. He was absolutely great to speak with. He was very, very funny. His presentation was hysterical. And I met David Hume Kennerly, not met him as in introduced, but literally stood a few feet from him when I was 16 years old, photographing President Gerald Ford. And so it was kind of like, seeing my idol up close at the time. So those are two, Bob, that kind of come up to the top of mind. Okay. All right. Let's see here. Oh, good. We got about 13 minutes left before we have to get ready for the premiere. Amanda, I find that a lot of clients want moody Instagram filter style photos, even when I recommend a cleaner and less filtered style for their specific session. How do you explain that to clients when they, and let's see if there's more to her question here. No, but I assume she means when they, when they ask for that. So, Amanda, well, I want to try and give you as concise an answer as possible here. This is a discussion that we just had in my mentoring group, because I've got a photographer in my mentoring group that is struggling with the idea of, this is what I offer. These are my packages. And yet people keep saying, but I want this and I want that and I want this and I want that. So there's a couple layers to the answer to your question. The first thing that I'll tell you right out of the box, if people are asking for something that you don't do, and it's happening routinely, which it sounds like it is, then the problem that you actually have is with your marketing. Meaning you are not attracting the right customers. You have not found your customers. Not everyone is your customer, and that's okay. The way a photographer makes money is to do what they do to the best of their ability and then find somebody dumb enough to pay them. And that's not a joke. If you've watched some of my other talks, you've heard me discuss that. It's how it works. It's how it worked all the way back to the old master artists, the Rembrandts, the Renoirs, all those folks. They made very little money while they were alive as artists, but they found patrons. Patrons who put a roof over their head, who put clothes on their back, who fed them and gave them a place to work in exchange for their artwork. So the challenge that you have as a photographer trying to find clients is to find clients that want what you do. Period. So what you need to look at, Amanda, is you need to look at how are you marketing yourself? You need to look at what things are you saying in your marketing. If you have a website, you need to maybe go back and look at what you're saying in the website, how you're presenting yourself, etc. It's kind of like having a style. Now, if you've watched some of my older videos, I talk about the fact that you shouldn't be stressing about what is my style. No. You just keep shooting, and your style will find you. But the fact of the matter is, when you start marketing yourself, you've got to have kind of a look and feel to what you do. And then when somebody comes in and says, hey, I like what you do, but I want this, they're not your customer. Done. Real simple. You're not going to waste energy trying to talk them into something else. You're going to be honest, this is what I do, okay? So that's where you start. You might want to consider joining my mentoring group, which, here, let me bring the information up on the screen, and I will go ahead and share the link with you guys so that you can find it. And of course, my website is no longer there. Bear with me one sec. And I'll show you that. Okay, so let's go back here, switch the screen over. And if you go to the website, click on the link on the top of any page that says mentoring, you can learn all about it. You can watch a video that shows you a little bit of the kind of background of how it works. I just put a link in the chat window there for you guys that will give you a little bit more information. But essentially, Amanda, your situation is kind of like what I was talking about before with some of the feedback that I got about TOGCHAT and videos. You understand what you're wanting to do, but your potential clients aren't. And that's what you have to examine. It's why. Why aren't they? So it's something to do with the way you are communicating your message or presenting your work or where you are doing your marketing. That's where you're running into your problems. Okay? All right. So, and I just saw a question coming up here. The Make and Do. Hey, Joe, are you going to be at Shutterfest? Yes. 90% sure I'm going to be at Shutterfest. Yeah. Actually, that's in the works. It's being ironed out right now. But yeah, I'll be at Shutterfest, and I'm going to be doing, if everything goes well, I'm going to be doing a lot more than I did last year. I'll be doing a lunch and learn. I'm going to be doing booth demos at the Olympus booth, and I will also hopefully be doing a photo walk or two while I'm there. So yeah, I got to admit, it was a really fun event. I'm hoping to get back there, but about 90% sure that it's coming. So hopefully I will see you there. Okay. All right. Sliding back on up here. And let's see here. Brad Weeks. Sharp is getting so much. This is the follow-up to the 8K question. Sharp is getting so much press, and I didn't know where Olympus can go with the EM1. Maybe stronger in the video world. Yeah, I mean, Brad, obviously, and I'm not kidding, guys. I don't know. Like, no camera company is going to share their actual future plans with ambassadors. It's just not. Because, and here's why. Even those rumor sites, like so many of you guys, you get hung up on those rumor sites and, are we getting this, are we getting that? Do you realize that those rumor sites are what make your, well, not what, but part of what? Think about this. This is no baloney, right? I'm not saying this as a camera brand ambassador. I'm saying this as somebody that loves this profession. Those rumor sites, the best thing that could happen to the industry is that you'd all stop visiting them so they go away, so they can't make money. Those rumor sites make your cameras more expensive. Those rumor sites make your lenses more expensive. Those rumor sites are every bit as bad as the crap that the Northrops and the other people do with, the sky is falling, the world is ending. Oh my God. Because the minute they post rumors, then cameras aren't cheap, gang. I think you all know that, right? The minute that rumor stuff starts, then everybody's like, sit on my hands. I don't think I should spend my money right now because there's something better coming. Is that something better going to make your photography better? No, not at all. There's the one thing that I can guarantee all of you about the next Olympus camera, whatever it is, it's not going to make you a better photographer. Sorry. The next Sony, not going to make you a better photographer. The next Nikon, not going to make you a better photographer. The next Pentax, of course not. No, I'm kidding. Not going to make you a better photographer. The next Canon, none of them. Not going to do it. It's up to you, right? So, you got to be looking at it, gang, from the standpoint of, is there a feature that I need? And the key word is need. Because if you need it, then it's potentially going to improve your work and make your work better. But if you don't need it, why are you worried about it, right? So those sites, I'm not kidding you, they hurt camera companies. They hurt lens companies. When those companies hurt, you pay the price. Literally, gang, I don't understand why, as a community, we cannot understand this. No, I'm not even going to go there. So I'm just going to let that lie. But seriously, yeah, I mean, 8K is getting press, but 8K, honestly, Brad, in my opinion, it's ridiculous. It's kind of like the whole idea of, 60 megapixel sensors, 100 megapixel sensors. We're getting to a point where the technology far surpasses what our eyes and our brains can deal with. So what's the point? Why are we rushing out there and spending all this money in it? High-end production companies, movie companies, people that do TV commercials, that kind of stuff, they're going to use that 8K because they can pretty much slap a wide-angle lens, shoot the scene, and then they can crop in 8 times before they lose any detail or clarity. So it's like having 8 shots in one, right? So for those people that are making real bank, they'll use those cameras. Heck yeah. There's a lot of value to them. To any of you that are sitting here, there's no value in 8K to what you're doing. There's just not, right? So yeah. So, but I really, I don't know. I don't know what they're gonna come up with. Okay. Keith Taylor, 8K on your phone. You know what? 8K may show up on the phone. So it wouldn't surprise me. Let's see here. Garvey, your advice on creating a portrait fashion portfolio on a 1 to 2 day shoot. What 4 pics of the variety would be the best? Garvey, give me some quick feedback. Are you referring to for the model or for you? Let me know, and I'll come back to your question. Give me an answer as soon as you can here, all right? Because I only got a couple of minutes left. So let's see here. Back to the questions. Alex, thank you for the correction. That would be Arizona State University, not the University of Arizona. I appreciate that. Thank you. So yes, and if you just Google the phrase Kennerly Archives, you'll find information about it. It just opened recently, and again, it's definitely a photography that you all will not be wasting your time to learn about. And he's very active on Instagram and Facebook, so easy to follow. So yeah, okay. Brad, thank you for the kind words about the mentoring program. Greatly appreciated. And scrolling on down here. Chuck Hill, my patron is my wife. Well, there you go. I understand that. My wife is my patron in so many ways, believe me, okay? Spinning Wheels Photography. As a business practice, do you record your sessions during a photo shoot for security of you and the client's well-being should an incident happen? No. Thought about it, considered it. It would be super easy to do. Here's why. In my opinion, now, once again, Spinning Wheels, I am not a lawyer. So do not take your legal advice from some guy on YouTube, period, right? I will not record the session because then there are concerns with privacy because I am recording this person, even if I tell them, right? So when I'm shooting, I've always got a makeup artist there. So I'm not alone. Not that worried. And in particular, in my studio now, which is great, in my current studio, not my home studio, because my home studio is just video. I am going to share it with you guys. But in my new studio in the Cigar Factory, they're 12-foot high ceilings, but the walls only go up 10 feet, about 9.5 feet. The top 3 feet, it's actually like this big chicken wire. So everything's open. You can hear from one room to the next. I have a small advertising agency next to me. makes my head hurt because I hear, marketing babble all day long. And I'm sure they get sick and tired of hearing me give directions to models. But so yeah, there's not a ton of privacy in that regard. I'm also kind of old school. I believe in treating people properly. I believe in following the rules. I believe if you do the right things, you're not going to have a problem. So yes, we live in a world with a lot of really litigious people. We live in a world where people lie. These are all horrible things. But, I believe if you do things right, if you set expectations properly, I'm willing to bet money. Now, this is going to be controversial, but I'm willing to bet money some of these photographers you're referring to spinning wheels, because he did follow up. I'm sorry, for the rest of you, he did follow up by saying, I've heard a few photographers do this in their studios. I'm sure it's more than a few, but ironically, I'd be willing to bet that some of those photographers have reason to be extra careful. So, yeah, I just don't see the need in it, okay? All right, and get one or two more in here, and then we got to get set up for the premiere. Ready? That sounds so cool. It just does. Anthony Clark, have you made any videos at a camera club with talks on marketing photography? I have not, but there are 4 marketing videos on my YouTube channel. If you click on the little magnifying glass on my channel, not the search bar up on YouTube, but the little magnifying glass on my channel, it's underneath the header. Type in marketing, you'll find 4 marketing videos. And back in the early days of TOGCHAT, I did a whole bunch of TOGCHATs that were marketing driven and focused, okay? So let's see, really quick here. Garvey got back to me. I just want to get this last one and we're going to wrap up. He got back to me. For him as the photographer was his answer to my question. His original question, if I can find it here, let me get back to it. There it is. My advice on creating a portrait fashion portfolio on a 1 or 2 day shoot, what 4 pics of the variety would be best? Garvey, unfortunately, I've got like 6 more questions for you. Here's what we're going to do. Hopefully, Garvey, you are a member of my Facebook group. If you are not, what the heck? Why not? You should be, right? So let me get the link for my Facebook group. Please make sure that you post this question and a little bit more detail about what you're doing and what you're trying to accomplish in my Facebook group. And I promise you, I will give you a very, very detailed answer next week on TOGCHAT, okay? But give me a lot more information. So you're making a portfolio, but what are you really trying to accomplish? What are you trying to make money at doing? Where are you trying to go? Are you trying to get published? What are you trying to do? So give me as much information on that as you possibly can. And like I said, next week I will take this up for you and I'll give you super, super detailed answer with tons of background information. Okay? All right, gang. So 7:02. So you all owe me 64 minutes with the camera in hand in the next week before we get back here next week. All right. 7:15. So that's 13 minutes, 12 minutes away now. The new video will be premiering on YouTube. Let me give you the link one more time here so that you have it. I'm going to put it here in the chat window. So remember, when you open this up, there's going to be a chat window in there as the video starts. If you have questions, you can ask questions. We can chat. It's only, it's only active and operational for the duration of the video, which is about 10.5 minutes. It's not a real long video. But after that, if you can't stay, no problem. You'll be able to come back to that same link, bookmark it, and watch the video, etc. So Timber Geek, I saw that NECC is still one keynote speaker for the conference this year. Man, you should let them know that Joe Edelman would make a great speaker. I would love to be there. I really would. It's a great conference. Done it several times. I love it, and I would love to do a keynote there. So anyway, that being said, gang, as always, thank you so much for spending an evening with me. Really great questions tonight. Great discussion. I really, really appreciate it. So as always, please remember.
Thanks for watching another live episode of TOGCHAT. Now, pick up that camera and shoot something, because your best shot is your next shot. So keep learning, keep thinking, and keep shooting. Adios.